Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another segment of Teachable Moment on the Educational AD Podcast. This is our weekly series featuring Dr. Mekia Troy. She's a certified master athletic administrator, also a member of the NIAAA's national teaching faculty. She's the athletic director at Creekside High School in Georgia. And each week, she shares her nugget on a particular point in athletic administration. We're going to hear from Dr. Troy in just a minute, but first we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, the Global Community of Women in High School Sports, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, the Florida Coaches Coalition, and We Coach. These are four great organizations. You should really add them to your network. And now, stay with us. I'm going to give our sponsors a shout out. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director or as a coach. You should be using them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Make sure you mention the podcast, vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus, the exclusive high school and state association platform for the podcast. It's also your one-stop platform for student athlete clearance, coaches clearance, scheduling, and a whole lot more. Go to homecampus.com to see all the things that they can do for you. That's homecampus.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to gipper.com. Start creating custom content for your school's social media channel. Your kids are on social media, and if you're not, you're missing out on a great opportunity to promote your teams and celebrate your athletes. Go to gipper.com, mention this podcast, you'll get a nice discount. That's gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo, see their tables and their boards in action. Their products not only generate income for you, they also create the ultimate game day experience. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We'd also like to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Hometown is digital ticketing that offers more. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. We'd also like to thank Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com. That's the website. Check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. That's snapraise.com. We'd like to thank Huddle for their support. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an athletic director, we were a Huddle school. And the tools that they provided for our coaches allowed them to coach our kids up to their highest level. That's huddle.com. Make sure you check them out today. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything: kids, coaches, parents, and the information that came back was almost always over the top positive, but it also connected us with that squeaky wheel parent. And that's where Athletic Surveys comes in. They're going to create a custom survey for your school that lets you take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Get started today. athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everyone, to Teachable Moment, episode number 9. This is our weekly series featuring a truly outstanding athletic administrator, Dr. Mekia Troy. She is a certified master athletic administrator, and she is the director of athletics at Creekside High School in Georgia. Every week, she spends some time with us and shares her heart and her wisdom. So, Dr. Troy, what do you have for our listeners this week on Teachable Moment?
All right. Thanks so much, Jake. Well, recently we at my school had the opportunity to celebrate the 10th anniversary of our school's first state football championship. It was awesome to see those young men again, to just celebrate them and their amazing season. It was an undefeated season, 15-0 record, but it will forever be linked to a tragedy that took place in the preseason. One of our star athletes was making a routine tackle first week of school in a scrimmage game and broke his neck. The broken neck ended up being fatal. And his death really motivated the team and all that they would do and accomplish in that championship season. And it was just great to be able to honor them and to remember him. And it just really brought up so many memories of things that happened that night and how we approached them going through that season. So this teachable moment is a little tough to address in a short amount of time, but dealing with tragedy is something that many ADs may have to do. And you just want to be prepared if you can, but it's something that I know I wasn't prepared for when it occurred back then. You'll hear stories of, fatal accidents or illnesses that affect students across the country for different reasons. And, it's not often that people think of what it takes to get through that or how you move a program forward. So even in my experience, what I realized in the emotions that were going on in that night, I was snapped back to reality pretty quickly when I realized that I was being asked by the authorities for the young man's sports physical and to provide that to them in the situation. And over the next several weeks, realizing how much each day was filled with decisions of showing compassion, but also trying to nudge people forward. And it's a really delicate space to be in because you want to be respectful, but you have to be considerate of how many other lives are still being impacted by what we do as athletic administrators. There's still other sports going on. There's still students that are grieving and dealing with the situation that's just impacted the whole school community. And it was a lot. It was a lot to handle, but I learned some things in that situation that allowed me to grow so that now I can encourage other ADs when they experience it. And it helped me because I would have never known that 4 years after that event, we'd have another tragedy to strike our program. But I learned some things that I was able to take away that I've been able to share with other ADs in similar situations to help them. And I just like to share those to help everyone else as teachable moments. One is just to make sure, first of all, that your athletic paperwork actually is collected and filed accurately. There are so many ways to do that digitally now. Companies like Final Forms, Rank One, Dragonfly, there's so many things out there to help you to make sure you can get to those things quickly when they're needed and to share them with the proper authorities if necessary. So you want to make sure that you have a method, a system that is accurate to be able to collect those things and be able to get to them very quickly. Also is the communication with your administration and coordinating with your guidance counselors to get that support out to your schools, grief counseling, things to help those students as they're dealing with tragedy, because it's a lot to work through a big group of young people that, have something to impact them in such a way you don't know what that's going to trigger in them. So you want to make sure you have professionals that are there to support you with that. Our local FCA was also very supportive of our program during that time. And they came out to help the kids just be together. It's very important to keep them together during that time because we were all dealing with it at once. We didn't want anyone to try to work through something so tragic by themselves. We definitely want to show that we were there in support of each other. Another thing that was important to know and learn in that situation is how much media would try to gain information and share it. And it's important to just defer those media requests to whoever your county spokespeople are, your district leaders, to make sure that whatever statements are being shared are proper and to keep you out of legal trouble. Even when there are things being said in the media that may not necessarily be accurate, and as much as you want to refute them, whether it's personally call up a station or even on your own social media to refute a story, you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're going through the proper channels where you have district support, legal support to make sure that the right things are being said, and eventually the truth of matters will be shared as best as possible. Another thing was making sure that we were available to the family. And people grieve in many different ways. While some might want you around, some might want space. And you can't take that personally. You just want to make sure that you're showing that you are available as much as the family wants, or maybe as little, but you want to make sure that you show them that you're there. And then you can't take things personally when people are going through that grief, whether it's the family or even some of the students or the parents. There are people that are impacted, particularly when something happens in the athletic department. It affects a lot of people. And you just want to help people move through it as best as possible, because you have to continue to move forward. And then lastly is something that I didn't necessarily do a good job at, and it's making sure that as the AD that you are taking care of yourself. Take some time to get away, to process, to grieve. These are still your student athletes too. You know, these are people that we have relationships with as well. And it's important that after you take care of other folks, but just like they say on the airplanes with that oxygen mask, you want to make sure that you're taken care of so that you can take care of other people. So if that means you get away to do that and then come back full and strong to provide your best support, then that's what you need to do. But you definitely want to make sure that you have the energy and the emotional bandwidth to support the people that are relying on you. So there's my teachable moment.
Wow. A whole lot of great information in there. And I want to go all the way back to the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When the tragedy hit, you were approached for, the documentation, the
Yeah.
physicals, and that is just such a key first step for ADs and coaches. Make sure that your coaches understand that, they might be a day or two into practice. And this happens in football and track because of the numbers. Kid
Yes.
shows up to the coach, hey, I want to come out. Make sure that coach understands that they need to thank them, but send that student, young man or young girl, back to the AD to check on clearance, physicals, consent forms, etc. Don't just let them start practicing, because again, if that child were to be injured and there's no, step one, step two done, that's going to be the end probably for that coach, maybe even that
Right.
athletic director. So
Right. Right.
again, every step of the way. Wow, great. Another great lesson. And it's, I guess it shows you how, a triumph can, come out of a tragedy, as you shared. Congratulations on that
Yeah.
milestone, 10-year anniversary. Dr. Troy, as always, it's great spending time with you. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, find out a little bit more about this or just any of the other topics you've shared, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Right. You can find me on social media at Dr. Troy Me, or shoot me an email, drtroyme@gmail.com.
Dr. Mekia, Troy, thanks again for sharing on this week's Teachable Moment. All the best on, the continued winter sports season and any fall wrap-ups the schools may have going on.
Yes. Thanks so much, Jake. I appreciate it.
Oh, always a great time. For our listeners, we do this every single Thursday, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, we appreciate you listening. Come back next week for another great teachable moment, just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you all next time. Before we go, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsors, and we encourage you to reach out to them. These are companies that I used as an AD, so I really feel very, very good about recommending them to you and your school. Let's go and start with Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. If you haven't started using social media to promote your teams and your athletes, or even if you have, take a look at all the things that Gipper can do for you. Their platform's outstanding, and their staff is second to none. Go to Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. The platform is Snap Mobile. The website is Snap Raise. Go to snapraise.com. Check out all the things they offer, particularly their fundraising platform. That's snapraise.com. You will be very glad you did. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. Go to their website, vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention this podcast, they'll give you a nice discount. If you're looking for a way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, or just tell more compelling stories about your school, vitalsignswalloffame.com is the way to go. We want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com to get started. Athletic surveys by Lifetrack. At our school, we use surveys for just about everything, for teachers, for coaches, for parents, and the information that came back was extremely valuable when you're talking with a frustrated parent, your principal, your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com for more information. We want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. It's hometownticketing.com. And speaking of home, I want to give a shout out to Home Campus. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association platform for us. It's also your one-stop platform for scheduling, for student athlete clearance and eligibility, to keep track of your coaches, and a whole lot more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just great. To get started, just go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. Thanks again for listening to this episode of Teachable Moment. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.